We must not confuse correlation with causation. The fact that two things happen at the same time doesn't mean that one causes the other. The fact that I sneeze when a mango falls doesn't mean it's my sneeze caused a mango to fall. As you know, the opposition has again been consistent in our position that the use of the state of emergency as a routine crime fighting tool is not in keeping with the constitution of the country. Our position is that the state of emergency procedure in the constitution is an extraordinary procedure which suspends the rights of all Jamaicans who are within the state of emergency area and is only to be used where it is necessary to protect the state and the democracy in which we live from subversion by violent elements. That is not the situation in Jamaica. We have chronic violent crime that is crying out for a solution that can address the root causes of crime, even as we suppress it through appropriately tailored measures that do not infringe or undermine our basic fundamental rights and freedoms. And as a result of the actions that the opposition has taken, I'm happy that our entertainers and party promoters who have over 2 years of the pandemic are not going to be facing another year, another Christmas, where they cannot keep their entertainment events because of the state of emergency. It would be most unjust to have large numbers of persons unable to make a basic living and make Christmas revenue that they have been desperate to try and make for so long, depriving them of that again. The bar operators, the community round-robin promoters, jerk chicken men and others who sell at night to make an honest dollar would have been forced to stay at home under the curfews in the state of emergency. How would they have been able to feed their families this Christmas if it continued? And why is it right for them to be punished because we have a Prime Minister who promised us that we'd be able to sleep with our windows and doors open, but has no clue how to deliver a plan for achieving that? The motoring public, law-abiding Jamaicans going to work, will no longer have to be in traffic for hours lining up with their roof lights on to achieve nothing but frustration. The security forces who have long been complaining about long hours, meals, food arriving late, and literally just standing all day or sitting down watching cars pass to and fro through checkpoints, will no longer have to go through that frustrating and pointless exercise. Jail cells around Jamaica that have been filled with persons, few no doubt guilty, but many innocent Jamaicans, will no longer be filled with those who are innocent. And we know that over the 5 years, the off and on use of states of emergency has resulted in many lives being badly damaged as a result of long periods of detention of innocent persons who have lost their jobs and have been stigmatized as a result of having been incarcerated in detention for long periods of time. The state of emergency is a band-aid. It does not hold guilty persons accountable because a state of emergency is about detention only. It is not a strategy for investigating criminals, for securing evidence, or indeed for successfully prosecuting them. It just kicks the can down the road. And we've been seeing that for 5 years now, where this government has been kicking the can down the road, relying on states of emergency in circumstances which we feel are inconsistent with the Constitution. And it has to come to an end. Time comes for that. I'm glad to see the Jamaica Council of Churches doing the right thing and saying they cannot support the use of the state of emergency in circumstances where the constitutionality of its use in that way is in doubt. I also want to say again that we are willing to work with the government to try and find sustainable solutions to Jamaica's chronic problem of violent crime. But cooperation requires mutual respect. The way in which parliamentarians of the JLP, both in the House and in the Senate this week, have treated the opposition, the disrespect and aggression that they have shown towards us for standing up for the rights of the Jamaican people and defending and upholding the Constitution in accordance with our oath is frankly disgraceful, and it does not suggest any honest and authentic wish on the part of the government to collaborate with the opposition at all. Nevertheless, the door remains open for collaboration. We wish to be part of the solution and to help this government, which obviously needs the help, to find a sustainable solution to Jamaica's crime problem. I want to go into and describe one measure which I have been promoting for some time behind closed doors with the government. I first articulated it in a summary way in July at a shadow cabinet meeting at which we had invited the Commissioner of Police and his team to attend, and I outlined it then as an approach which I think is much more suited to the problem they're trying to solve. It is a problem where, based on what they have said, there are approximately 300 known violence producers in the country. There's no reason why we have to suspend or infringe the basic human rights, the constitutional rights of half of the Jamaican population in the SOE areas that were declared in an attempt to deal with 300 violence producers. We need a tool that is designed to achieve that. I am of the view that pre-charge detention is warranted in Jamaica's present context in relation to known violence producers who have been identified by credible intelligence as posing a realistic danger of inflicting serious violence against one or more individuals or the community. A legal procedure can be developed and enacted quickly, whereby law enforcement can apply to the Supreme Court ex parte, that means without notice to the other side, providing supporting affidavits of the credible intelligence that justifies the immediate detention of this individual, and seeking a pre-charge detention order in order to protect against that credible risk of serious violence. The ex parte order, once granted, would allow 7 days initial detention, along with further 14-day extensions, up to 42 days of extensions, 14 days at a time, subject at each interval, subject to law enforcement satisfying the court, again ex parte, that they are making progress towards building a case that can adequately support a criminal charge being laid against the detainee. The procedure, as I've said, would be limited in time, so that after 49 days from initial detention, the initial 7-day period, plus 42 days of extensions, 14 days at a time, after that 49-day period, the person must either have been charged or must be released. The affidavit evidence supporting the detention order would not be publicly available in a court file, but would be made available in redacted form to the detainee's defense counsel. Redacted meaning any sensitive information, names of witnesses and so on would be removed to protect vulnerable persons from any adverse action. And the detained person would have the right during this period to apply inter partes, that means giving notice to law enforcement, apply to the court for his release if he can satisfy the court that the detention is unwarranted and that he does not pose a credible threat of violence. Law enforcement, as I've said, would be entitled to notice of any application for him to be released and would be entitled to oppose it if they so wish. And I'm advocating that a specific case management judge would be assigned to this process to oversee the detention for the 49-day period. In my view, this is a proportionate response to protect Jamaica's free and democratic society from a chronic and worsening problem of murders and other serious crimes, in which extreme violence, intimidation, and fear are making it near impossible to successfully prosecute these approximately 300 serious sociopathic violence producers who are inflicting mayhem on our society. The existing legal rules need some additional mechanisms in them to tackle this specific problem, and this is what I have proposed today. The mechanism recognizes the dire crime situation we are in and the need for extraordinary security measures within the Constitution. It provides a targeted approach, thus avoiding the perception of a random scraping up of persons and infringing their rights. It is therefore both defensible and justifiable. Court intervention provides an objective assessment of the circumstances justifying the deprivation of liberty. It recognizes the need for balance between the personal rights of the individual and the public interest to meet the threshold requirement of the Constitution. To be effective, the process must meet the requirements of speed and have an element of surprise, which the pre-trial process, the pre-charge process of an ex parte application for a detention order achieves those things. The legislation should have a sunset clause in it, so that it ends after, say, 2 years, but can be extended if it is delivering the desired results for the Jamaican people. So we are putting this on the table. We would like to see this enacted in law in the Enhanced Security Measures Act or the standalone piece of legislation. We would like to see it brought by the government to Parliament before Christmas, so that the Jamaican people can enjoy Christmas knowing that there is at last something sensible, targeted and coherent being done to protect them from the violence that we all have.